Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast in a game between AAA's Nerchio versus Grubby here on Metalopolis Zerg versus Protoss, and really interested to see how Grubby's going to do in this game. I'm also really interested to see how Nerchio is going to do in this game. But really, a lot of people have been waiting for Grubby to quote-unquote awaken from his sleep and really transfer those skills from Warcraft 3 into StarCraft 2. He has been playing a lot of StarCraft 2 as of late, and we're all wondering whether or not Grubby's going to find success in StarCraft 2 or if Warcraft 3 was just his niche, using the Blade Master as one of the most fearsome orcs in the game. We have Nerchio spawning as the pink Zerg at the 12 o'clock position. Meanwhile, we have Grubby spawning as the green Protoss down over here. Gonna go ahead and go out with this 9 pylon scout, and he will quickly be able to find his opponent and perhaps figure out what his opponent's really trying to do. Now, I believe this is an MLG version of the map or a cross-spawn version of the map at the very least. Based upon the scouting positions, Grubby very smart, knowing that all he needs to do is really look to see if there's creep to figure out if his opponent is where in that location over there at the 9 o'clock position. And now we'll quickly come up this ramp and now take a look. Nerchio, we'll see what his first building is. It's really interesting to see what a Zerg's first building is, because it's the only race that really has an option. Extractor, spawning pool, or hatchery could be the first building. All the other races, supply depot first. I guess you could have a refinery first, but that is a little odd. And then Protoss, obviously, with pylon first, as they need a pylon in order to warp in any other building besides that assimilator. So an assimilator now being warped in as well. You can see the probe is coming down over here, trying to annoy and harass this one drone from being able to grow up and become a hatchery. And now the probe has taken a fair amount of damage, and ventures out just a little bit too far. And I believe Grubby just has to be upset about that. Grubby could have delayed it a little bit further, perhaps taken a little bit more damage, but Nerchio very much on top of things, setting up that hatchery, and now he will have 6 Zerglings being trained. In addition, he also needs another Overlord. Not quite sure what's going on there. Perhaps he's going to go for the double extractor trick into a queen and then cancel. Okay, so he did one extractor trick in order to train up that queen, and now the Zerglings are going to start to chase this probe. The probe now doing a good job attempting to run away, and we are going to have a very decent amount of scouting going down with all of these Zerglings. All the Zerglings heading off to different corners of the map, trying to make sure there are no proxy pylons, and now a Stalker will be warped in from Grubby, and with that Stalker, this front door should be fairly secure from any real harassment whatsoever. Grubby now setting up a semi-proxy pylon up on the high ground, will be able to warp in units, and now there is that Zealot there holding the line. The Zerglings are not going to be able to engage, and the Zergling taking a little bit too much damage, and now backs off at 4 hit points. It looks like the Zergling's going to try to sneak its way in, but gets shot by a Stalker instead. Now, taking a look at Nerchio. Nerchio has finished expanding to the 12 o'clock location, now transferring from drones and a queen over in order to make sure that there are not diminishing returns on the main base. Zerglings still scouting and scouring after every single portion of the map, as Grubby now has a slight small food advantage, 33 compared to 34. Now, it doesn't look like we're going to see any serious early engagements, as we now see a Nexus coming in from Grubby. So Grubby looking to get a stronger or keep up with the economic situation that Nerchio is currently in, as the Zealot has taken down 1 or 2 drones. However, the Stalkers are fighting on creep, and that's exactly what you don't want to do when you're fighting against Zerglings. Zerglings, however, have the same movement speed as Stalkers without the metabolic boost. I believe a Zealot, Zealot now trying to come back in and will be able to get off another worker kill. So Grubby getting in a fair amount of worker kills with that one Zealot, as the Stalker is now slowly regenerating hit points. The key question, Zerglings now trying to come in and trying to perhaps do a decent surround, trying to pad. It looks like this one Stalker will be able to come home, and now with a couple sentries also adding a little bit of support and be able to regenerate those all-important shields. This one Stalker is currently sitting at 22 hit points, and we'll see what Nerchio does. Nerchio now trained up a lot more Zerglings, and those Zerglings, unless they start to apply some pressure, are not going to really be able to do all that much. You can see double gateways now being warped in on the low ground. Also, a Stargate has been added as well. As the force fields, able to stop many of the Zerglings before they're able to get within melee range. Another force field coming in as well. So nicely done. It looks like some sentries may get taken down. 2 sentries make their way inside the base. 1 sentry down over here. The probe's going to come off the mineral line, be able to get some damage onto those Zerglings, and the Zerglings just dancing around back and forth. It looks like they will be able to at least apply some sort of pressure, but a sentry up on the high ground and some probes come in. The sentry now going to engage, be able to pretty much take care of that Zergling. But the Zergling did scout out that all-important Stargate. So the Stargate is currently being revealed. It is also being chrono boosted. If you didn't know, you can always tell what building or what unit is currently being warped in through that Stargate. As you can see, a Void Ray now being warped in through that Stargate now. Now, taking a look back over here, a hatchery is trying to train up a queen, currently supply blocked at 43 over 44. Additional queens and overlords are still being, or additional overlord now being trained up as well, 44 over 52, as we now see a Roach Warren being added. A little curious as to the reason behind the Roach Warren, especially if you saw his opponent's Stargate. The Stargate is normally very effective against... nice there. Stargates are normally very effective against roaches, so not quite sure why Nerchio wanted to get that Roach Warren. Perhaps he knows something a little bit more than I do. I would have liked to perhaps have seen an infestation pit come down, but then again, Nerchio is still currently sitting at tier 1, now starting the upgrade to tier 2. We can see that the third base is already up for Nerchio. He is getting a Spore Crawler here, so the Void Ray is not going to really be able to deal that much damage. As the Void Ray now coming in, you can see the Void Ray taking a fair amount of damage. The Queen also coming over as well. The Queen and the Spore Crawler standing side by side will be able to push back this Void Ray, as the Void Ray doesn't really deal that much damage until it is fully charged, and even then the Spore Crawler may be able to take it out, as the Spore Crawler does have superior range and also a base 1 armor. The initial damage of a Void Ray, the Void Rays do attack fairly often, so the damage, that 1 armor damage does reduce it by a good decent amount. The Void Ray now looking to hunt for more Overlords. As we are about to tech to tier 2, we could either go into Hydralisk or perhaps into Mutalisks. Mutalisks are very effective against Void Rays, especially if there are a lot of Mutalisks versus a lot of Void Rays. The bonus damage or the chain damage really starts to take its toll. Grubby now being forced to run back, as the Void Ray was trying to get in some easy damage onto them Zerglings, not really able to do so, as now we have an army of 3 Void Rays in the center. So a squadron of 3 Void Rays and a couple wingmen added by for the Phoenixes, and we'll see how much damage can really be dealt. The Void Rays are coming in, a Spore Crawler now coming in. We should perhaps be getting in a Graviton Beam. This one Void Ray is going to take a lot of damage. It does get sniped down. So a Spore Crawler for a Void Ray, not a good trade for Grubby by any stretch of the imagination. Perhaps a Phoenix with some Graviton Beams would have been the deciding factor, as the Phoenix now taking a lot of damage, down to 54 hit points, and now will allow some of those shields to naturally recharge. Grubby has taken this high ground expansion over here on the bottom right hand side. I expect him to place down a Photon Cannon, a Pylon, and a couple gateways here to prevent any run-bys, but these Stargate units really need to get a lot more aggressive. Otherwise, it's not going to really deal that much damage. One Void Ray now quickly coming in. Phoenix does come in with the Graviton Beam, and now attempting to perhaps deal some damage here. In come some Queens. The Queens do have a fair amount of range. Void Ray is now trying to pick up in between the 2 locations, and it looks like the Phoenix is going to Graviton Beam over here. That is a problem, as now the Queens are now pushing back in. So 2 Void Rays. There's the Graviton Beam. Transfusion on a Graviton Beamed Phoenix, or on a Graviton Beamed Queen. And now the units are backing off. Grubby, with very low hit point Void Rays, really needs to wait for those shields to naturally recharge, as those Phoenix are backing off once more. The Void Rays could easily attack here and get some damage onto those Zerglings and those Roaches as well. This is not looking good. If the Void Rays now just turn around and perhaps start attacking those Roaches, but in comes a swarm of Zerglings and Roaches down over here onto the high ground. Sentries are able to get a couple Graviton Beams. Phoenixes have Graviton Beam to get additional Roaches as well, to try to limit the amount of DPS, as the Void Rays are now finally arriving to the party just a little bit late, but right on time. They arrive right when they're supposed to be, as now in comes a force field to prevent those roaches from engaging. Roaches, for some reason, taking a beating from a sentry when they could have easily just turned around and shot it down very easily. So some early engagements here. Taking a look at the losses, Nerchio has lost a little bit more. Grubby, with some very effective use of force fields, able to push that army back. And now we'll see what's going to happen, as we can also see a hatchery being built over here at the gold mineral expansion. Grubby does spot this, and 2 Void Rays should be more than enough to take care of this one hatchery. I believe this hatchery should get sniped down in just a moment, as yes, it is going to be sniped down here. Going to take a lot of damage, force the cancellation. 225 minerals will be returned, as the Phoenixes perhaps can destroy an Overlord as well. Roaches are moving out across the center. There is the cancellation. Down goes the drone. The Overlord also gets shot down, as well as the Phoenixes and Void Rays are still hunting for new and fresh targets. There is only 1 queen over here, a second queen a little bit further away, but 1 graviton beam could spell almost certain doom. Photon cannons, gateways are currently warping in. I believe they are outside of pylon power range, as the gateway gonna get canceled over here. Another pylon now being added, and those roaches really not gonna be able to deal very much damage at all. Void Rays looking to destroy and deny another hatchery, and Void Rays doing a great job right now. The only problem with those Void Rays is that they're going to be dealing with corruptors in just a moment, and those corruptors with that corruption ability should be able to focus down these 2 rather low hit point Void Rays, as they're already at half life, and in comes the fleet, or this a fleet of corruptors. Down goes 1 Void Ray, down goes another. And now very nicely done by Nerchio. Nerchio going to do a little bit of the walk of shame with some long-distance mining first, before this hatchery does come up. Now, Grubby has transitioned into Colossi. 4 Colossi. The Colossi have level 1 weapons upgrade and the extended thermal lance range. The Stalkers do not have blink yet, so that may be the one serious issue, as Grubby now also moving to take the center expansion as well. Roaches and Corruptors are going to try to engage. There are Phoenixes nearby. Stalkers are going to try to engage, and 1 Phoenix does get destroyed. The Phoenix is backing off, able to attack move, but I'm pretty sure that a Phoenix actually loses to a Corruptor in a one-on-one fight. The Corruptor has superior range, has decent movement speed, and also has a base 2 armor, reducing the amount of damage from those Phoenixes from 10 down to 6. Roach is now coming in, and Roaches are going to be able to push in, but getting split apart. And this is a very nice engagement by Grubby. Perfectly aligned force fields, as the Colossi have nothing to do except for take out a Minx statue. Now, the Stalkers still do not have blink. We are now still researching blink. This is still patch 136, as the Roaches and the Corruptors are trying to push their way in. Colossi may be able to engage here, and now the Corruptors are backing off once more. 200 versus 190. Army composition, though, very much in favor of Grubby. Grubby having the more expensive army, even though I do believe it consists of less food. No, it actually consists of more food, as Grubby has almost a 20 probe advantage. Roach is currently burrowed, though, and will be able to regenerate all of those hit points. I believe it is 5 hit points a second, and at 5 hit points a second, you can nullify a 5 DPS unit, and now we'll see what's going to go down here. Stalkers are going to engage. There's the force field. A lot of Corruptors in the air. The Corruptors do not have the ability to morph into a Greater Spire, and we do not have Greater Spire just quite yet. Nerchio just saying a nice joke here, as the Stalkers are continuing to push in. Nerchio rather upset about this matchup, I'm assuming, as there are just so many Colossi. Grubby playing Protoss almost like they're the Zerg, just waiting to macro up off a lot of bases. Roaches are now pushing in here. It looks like this Nexus will get taken down, but I believe Grubby is more than happy to try to trade one base for another, as those probes are now attempting to run away, and perhaps they will be able to mine again. Stalkers now moving in. They were quickly blinked into this position here, able to get a lot of damage. Colossi are also moving in, trying to get more damage onto those Roaches. Corruptors trying to engage against the Colossi. 1 Colossus does get taken down. Another Colossus may go down as well. There it is, 2, as the Stalkers are engaging. This 1 Colossus is having a bit of a problem, and both sides with rather large armies just absolutely devastating against each other. Nerchio with 10 Corruptors in the air, not really able to do very much at all. More units are being warped in. Stalkers blinking up onto the high ground. And this may be a bit of a problem as Grubby has now started to poke apart at these roaches. The roaches are upgraded 0-2 as opposed to the 2-1 units of Grubby. But actually, it actually benefits the roaches more just because the roaches are able to see what's going to happen. And the Stalkers now finally blink to the low ground, taking down another drone as another Nexus now being warped in by Grubby. And Grubby also establishing a Nexus over here at the 9 o'clock starting location. We'll see what's going to happen as the Stalkers are attempting to run away. Probes are trying to be transferred. Not going to work out as the Zerglings don't know about this Nexus over here. Harvester count 91 compared to 41. But then again, if anyone can... no race can train drones as quickly as a Zerg, so we'll see what's going to happen. But if he does train up a lot of drones, he's not going to have the necessary army in order to deal with this Stalker, Immortal, and High Templar army. There is some Psystorm in this engagement as well. Stalkers are blinking back, and there you go. Nerchio leaves the game. Grubby taking game 1 in this series. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.